Here we are in cockpit, the Spitfire 9 in DCS Normandy 2.1. This is the first full recorded video I'll do for 2.1. I have done some live streaming, but those live streams have not been saved to the channel, so this will be saved permanently. Just glancing around so you can get a feel for how it looks with the settings I have. Here are the graphics settings which I'm using. I won't go through too much detail, but I have MSAA and anisotropic filtering low. I'll put that on +4 times 4. Shadows on flat only, and terrain objects shadows are flat. And then everything else is pretty close to being high, with a couple of things turned off, such as these cinematic effects, depth of field and the lens effects. So there we go. Those are the graphics settings I run with a GTX 980 Ti. One thing I've noticed is that when I joined the server, which is the ACG server, my fisheye fix is not working on the server. And look at that horrible distortion. It's defaulting to the 140, and God, it's disgusting. That's about as far as I can zoom out, but even then it distorts around the edges. So anyway, it seems that either on this server or all servers, the fix for fisheye doesn't work. We're going to get airborne shortly, but before we do, a brief comment on the lighting. A large number of people have commented on how the game is completely washed out and really pale, especially when the sun is high and there are no clouds, as it is here. It is possible to tweak this a little bit if you have NVIDIA control panel. I will just open up a version myself now. I'll just NVIDIA control panel. Shut that OBS down. So with NVIDIA control panel, I've got these settings: 42 brightness, 37 contrast, plus 0.7 gamma, and a little bit of vibrance. Now by default, if you're an NVIDIA user, you'll have something like this: 50, 50, and 1. And digital vibrance will be at 50. That will be your default setting. So I've set 50, 50, 1, and 50. I'll put a screenshot up showing the default settings in NVIDIA control panel. This is how it looks like by default. It's quite washed out, quite pale, quite ugly. Now I'm just going to Alt-Tab to the control panel. This may not show in the video. I'll show up a green screenshot. And by reducing the brightness, reducing the contrast, fraction, reducing the gamma to 0.75 or 0.7, that's the biggest change, and increasing the digital vibrance to about 56, 57, then suddenly it looks so much better. It really makes a vast difference. Now, obviously, we shouldn't have to do this using our graphics cards. We should have in-game options for adjusting the saturation and the brightness and the gamma. A lot of games do this. It's pretty standard stuff. So hopefully Ego Dynamics will take note and will implement some kind of system. Anyway, let's get airborne. Before we diddle-daddle around any longer, just a couple of comments there on graphics settings. It may help one or two folks. I'm going to set up. Now, the download on Friday, the whole process of getting 2.0 or 1.5 upgraded for some people was a nightmare. We'll talk about that soon. I'm going to overprime this engine. And the reason I'm overpriming here is because I want to show you the flames. So let's open the canopy, and we'll get some flames pouring out either side of the engine cowling here. We might get some reflections as well. There are the flames, just briefly. Now, if I'd have pumped, if I had pumped about 2 or 3 more times on the primer, those flames would have persisted a lot longer. It's quite a nice effect to that. I like it. So the process while we're taxiing, the The process of upgrading on Friday was a bit of a balls up, if you ask me. I don't think Eagle Dynamics anticipated how many people would download the software. The torrent was incredibly slow. For some reason, I only had 100 users on the torrent. A lot of people were having trouble connecting, and a lot of people were having trouble with the HTTP. Look over there. Okay, see those traces? Let's hope someone else shoots again. There's aircraft over there. Some interesting comments we can make about aircraft visibility too at this point. Waiting for some tracer here because we're at the right distance now where the tracers render as black lasers. This is clearly a bug that needs to be fixed. We might not see any tracers now that we want to, but if you skip back 30 seconds or so and look where I was looking, you'll see the black tracers. Now, I think what's happening is the tracers are drawing shadows. And because they're drawing shadows, oh, there's a Mustang just about to take off here. Woo, you're pushing yourself, buddy. Because they're drawing these black shadows, you see these black tracers when they're far away. When you're up close, within a few hundred yards, they go the proper color, the red or the green. But at long range, they're black. So there's a problem with that, which needs to be fixed. Right, the airfield I'm at is Beuzeville. I don't know how to say that, it's French. And one thing I've noticed about some of these airfields, first of all, is I'm not sure how many buildings they should really have, especially the ones that are supposed to be forward operating bases. I suspect they're not supposed to be covered in buildings, although they look relatively makeshift constructions. Another thing I'm not too happy about is the proliferation of buildings and structures inside the main airfield areas. This field's not too bad. This one just has these windsocks, which for me they're too close to the threshold. They should be away on the perimeter fence because this is a combat field. People are going to be returning with combat damage and there'll be lots of emergency landings, and we don't want people crashing on finals just because they can't line up on the runway. They need to be able to use the grass. Speaking of using the grass, it is much easier to take off on grass now. This map, they've taken into account the need for these warbirds to use the grass. So let's actually take off on the grass. Okay, throttling forward now. And we can almost firewall these birds, which you couldn't do previously. There we go, lots of throttle. Nose is just dropping, and we'll lift off in no time. There we are, we're airborne already. Bit of a stall as the nose came up a bit too hard, but it's okay. Okay, we've got something diving very heavily over here. I'm guessing that's a 109 or a 190, given the pace of that dive. And he was co-out with me when he started his dive, and he's leveling off at low altitude. He's making a pass on that airfield down the middle. He's level, he's level, he's level. Now he's coming up. There's another aircraft just in front of me here too, which looks like it could be a Spitty, it could be a 190. Oh, I lost him. No, there he is, there he is. What is that? It's a Spitfire. Now, the question is, where did that other guy go? Mustang. Okay. Nothing. There. Mustang. Something below him maybe, or is that the same contact? Ah, there we go. It looks like a Mustang tangling with one, maybe two others right above the sand there. We'll go and investigate. There's a Spitfire on the back of a 190 or a 109, and the German aircraft is now in a head-on almost. He's getting shot at. There you can see the traces going from orange to black as the shadowing. Oh, that Spitfire snapped his wing off in the dive. Oh dear, we've seen that before. Now the 109's getting away scot-free. Yeah, Spitfires and their wings chopping off. Brilliant. Happens all the time. Now, this guy has a significant energy disadvantage over me currently. I am closing on him. He's in level flight and I'm still diving. Let's see if he can actually turn this around. He probably can, and gain a speed advantage. As I start slowing down and he starts speeding up for some reason. Okay, he's just using his wings there a little bit. I'm trimmed. I can't catch him. Full boost. There we go. Now he's pulling away. So there we go. That was me diving on him. Got to try and get him to turn properly, but he won't turn here. He's staying. He's just doing this little side-to-side stuff. Oh, they're so fast. Have to break off. There's something going up just offshore there. That's probably hostile. Yep, that looks like a 109. Right, we'll see if we can actually get this guy in range of a machine gun or two. I'm in a better position this time, I think, but nah, it's going to be so hard to get deflection angle here. Ah! Oh, it turned inside me. Wasn't able to get the angle. Probably up above me now. There he is, way up there. He's rolling over the top. That's a good hit, and there's his wing. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. Sorry, mate. Yeah, that was recorded as a victory. So, spotting aircraft is a mixed bag. Some guys have had real trouble. Watch Spicy Sauced video. He was having some trouble spotting stuff, especially when it's below you. When it goes above the horizon, it's a lot easier. But I'm not sure if it's realistic or not. I know in the Cliffs of Dover, it's a lot easier to spot stuff. But I'm not sure. I'm not having too much trouble. I mean, in that engagement there, I did lose that contact for a few seconds, but I think I'm fairly quick to identify aircraft once they're a dot, and then this transition from a dot to the model is really nice. It's not abrupt. It's a really smooth transition from a single pixel to a group of pixels in the model, which is really nice. I think they've got a good technology for doing that. Okay, we're going to head home. I don't want to stick around here any longer than I have to. The only thing we haven't seen is this amazing white smoke. When you overheat or when you cause an enemy aircraft to overheat, they billow this white smoke. It's a new graphic effect that I hadn't seen before. I think it's the same smoke you see on the trains, and it looks really, really amazing. But anyway, we don't have time for that today because we're going to go in and land. I want to check which way the wind's blowing. We've got an airfield at 12. I know we've got a strong wind here today because the sea is kicking it up. It's a little bit glassy there, but I think behind me you'll see white caps. Yep, on the water there. That looks lovely. I don't think the sea kicks up enough. I've been playing around with the wind settings myself in the mission builder, and I think it takes too much wind before the the sea will kick up. You need about 25 knots, and by then it becomes very difficult to take off. Which way is the wind blowing here? Okay, so we are now downwind. I'd like to see whitecaps developing at about 12 to 15 knots, just a couple. But, you know, that's just me. Okay, we're going to turn in on finals here and set down. The sink rate seems to have increased. It may just be that now the trees are there making me conscious, because these trees are now collidable. It may just mean that I'm much more conscious of sink rate now, and I never used to be, but I really get the feeling like, okay, flaps and gear, we'll drop them down nice and early, and we'll try and arrest the sink. Look at that, we just shed altitude like nothing. Got to keep my airspeed up with this heavy wing down attitude. Better not put any rudder in either. We will spin straight in. Okay, there we go, lined up. Pretty much head on to the wind. Just going to reduce my brakes a little bit, trim back. Coming over the threshold with a lot of speed, 140, but we'll bleed that off real quick. Throttle on. And we'll try and get that nose up. Get that nose up. Oh, I see too much. Had a lot of trouble with my landings in 2.1. There we go, see? Too much nose up. And now we're flying down. Oh. Wow, another bad landing. Another shocking landing. I've had so much trouble in 2.1. I've had a real difficulty judging my height above these mud-coloured, it's supposed to be metal, but it's mud. These mud-coloured meshes. They see within about, you need to be within about 5 feet of them for them to actually generate texture. If you're at normal zoom, see on the wingtip there, it's just a flat textureless surface. It's really hard to judge altitude. I think it's actually easier to land on the grass because you can see the grass texture. Oh, there we go. Okay, so DCS 2.0 Normandy is out. It is good. It is very good. It's as good as anything else I've played. Whether or not it still leaves the door open for the competition to catch up, I suspect it does. So that can only mean good things for the flight simming community as a whole. It's an improvement, but it's not so amazing that it blows the competition out of the water. Right, let's have a look at this B-17. I'm going to try and hit him with just my MGs. So I'm not going to fire the cannon. Let's just do a test here. That's the MG firing only. That's just the first indent on my joystick trigger button. So we're just going to go to the first indent. We're going to do a couple of short bursts of MG fire. And we're going to see how resilient this B-17 is. Pretty much lined up for the first shot. So a little squeeze. There we go. And how bad is he looking? Not too bad. We'll give him another little touch. And there we go. 3 very, very short bursts of machine gun fire. And his left wing his right wing just sheared off completely. And down he went. So I suspect he was only hit with 30 or 40 rounds. We may be able to tell here by looking at the post-mission details. How many rounds did I fire? Does it say? I have committed fractious fracticide and I've lost my combat scores. Okay, and it doesn't say how many rounds I fired. Is that the number of rounds? 19 rounds, 85 rounds, 18, 38, and 30. So that's, 160 rounds of machine gun fire hit that B-17. Managed to chop his wing off. Well, that's quite a few rounds. But I suspect that a normal B-17 could take quite a few hundred rounds of 303 before that wing snapped off. The rounds weren't all landing on the wing root either. So I think this damage model needs a serious look at, and it doesn't have to be outstanding to at least make sense. What ED should focus on is at least beefing them up. I mean, keep the existing damage model if you have to. Just triple or quadruple the resistance to damage for now. At least that means we won't be seeing B-17s falling out of the sky willy-nilly.